Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to position all of our cut studs, our 90 3/8 inch studs, correctly along the wall. Position them. Now before you stick any of your studs into position in the wall, you're going to do what's called sight your lumber. Okay? As we talked about, this is wood. It's not going to be perfectly straight. It's going to have backs in it, bows, crowns, all the same thing. You want to look down your 2x4 on edge, not this way, up on edge. And you want to look down one corner of the 2x4, either this corner or this corner, and look down towards the concrete floor and see if there's a hump or a back or a crown in your stud. If there is, you want to keep the humps up, okay? Crowns, humps, backs, whatever you want to call them. If there's a bump in the 2x4 and looking down it this way, you want to keep it up towards the ceiling. This one's got a slight hump in it. I'm going to keep it up, and I'm going to put this one in position down here. Right up there on that end of the wall, you can see I'm heading towards one of the X's there. I'm going to cover the X. I'm going to stay on the line, but I'm going to cover the X. All right, next one. I'm going to sight it. I'm looking down for a hump. There is a slight hump on this one, on this side. I'm going to keep it up, okay? You can mark them too, until you get used to it. In case they fall down, you don't remember where the hump is, just make an arrow. All right? That means the back is up, the hump is up. Slide it down, keep it on the line down there, and cover the X. Okay, I'm going to go down through here on every one of these studs, sight them for backs. There's my back. You don't have to mark them. I'm just doing this for, to get it straight in your head. The hump is up, and I'm going to put it on the line and cover the X. Not much of a hump in this one at all, so I'm just going to put that one in there, up on the line, and cover the X. Alright. Not much of anything with that one either. That's a nice straight. Now, if the humps are really bad, I mean, you look down there and you're just like, oh my gosh, what? Get rid of it. Just toss it aside. There's going to be plenty of other places in this project where we're going to need small pieces of 2x4, and we'll cut them bad ones up and use it for filler wood, for cats and whatnot. That one looks good. On the line, cover the X. Okay, so what's happening here is we're putting a 2x4 every 16 inches. All right, every 16 inches. So, and because of our layout, I know that when we stand this wall up and fasten into position, it's going to be laid out perfectly for drywall. Sighting each 2x4, really important. So far we've been lucky, we haven't had any bad ones. Alright, keep that back up. Now you see those two are real close together there because this is the last one in our 16 on center, and it is what it is. Wherever it falls, it has to be. Even if they're that close to each other. Now I'm putting in the two that we started our layout with, the one at the 3.5 inch line. And then we've got one that we're going to put in flat ways. Okay, that's why I'll show you down here. When we made those flat, when we divided that line in half, remember we put an X the opposite way. We're actually going to be putting a 2x4 in there flat ways right on that mark. So it's going to lay in there on its side instead of up and down. It's going to go in there flat ways like this. Okay? And there's going to be one like that up the other end. Alright, these are called our corner nailers. And the reason that we're putting these flat ones in here is because these flat ones are going to receive wall 2 and 3. Okay? These flat ones are going to receive wall 2 and 3, which is what we need to stiffen up our corners. So our drywall corners are real tight. So we're going to put a flat one in there. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bottom plate and slide it up against the 2x4s. Kick it up in there. And I'm actually going to be nailing through my bottom plate into each stud first, and then we'll pull the wall back. I'll go up to the top of the wall and we'll nail the top plate onto the studs as well. Alright, so Chris, if you want to stand back over there. Alright, so all I'm going to do here now is just go down through here and position all my studs on the X's on the green plate. Okay? Put them on the line and just cover the X. The X, always, you don't want to see the X. That way you know your 2x4 is on the right side of the line. Cover the X's. Okay. Alright, so we got them all in the correct position. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go down through with our nail gun. And we're going to nail them. Alright, come on over here once, Chris. I'll show you how to position your gun to shoot these. Okay, so obviously this is a very safe tool if operated correctly. If not operated correctly, this can be a real hazardous tool. Alright, it is shooting a 3.5-inch projectile through a piece of wood, so you can get hurt by one of these, but not if you follow simple instructions, simple directions to operate the tool safely. Well, actually, I have prescription glasses that are safety, so I'm going to wear these. So you do not want to operate this gun without wearing eye protection. All right? Cover your eyes. All right. Doesn't matter where you start. You can start in the middle of the wall if you want, but I always start at one end or the other. That's what I like to do. All right, I'm going to come down here now, and our first 2x4 I told you is going to be put in flat ways.
Open the X.
So there's our X. Okay, I'm going to cover the X, even with the flat one. So we're going to bring that up there flat ways, right to our 3.5-inch line that we drew at the very beginning of this layout video. And on this end, I'm going to take my framing gun, push it up against the lumber, and squeeze the trigger. Alright, I sent a nail in about 3/4 of an inch down from the top, straight into this 2x4. I'm going to put 2 in there, one on the other side. Okay? That's our first stud in the wall. Alright, the next one is going to be a straight up and down stud on the other side of this one. Okay, your corners are always going to look like this. There's going to be a flat one, and then you're going to have this other one that's right up against the flat one. Okay? Even with my plate, you don't want to be up in the air a quarter, you don't want to be down, you want to be flush with the plate. That goes for the flat one too, flush with the plate. And here we're going to do one high and one low. Alright, they went straight into that second stud. Next one. Now I'm on my line. Now I'm going to show you a technique here to keep you from shooting a nail through your finger. I mean, if it goes through wood, it's going to go through flesh. Alright, so what you want to do is you want to keep your hand out of harm's way. So you want to hold the 2x4 back further than 3.5 inches, because the nail's only 3.5 inches long, so if you're back further than 3.5, it can't hit you. Keep your fingers back. Take your index finger, you're going to pinch it with your thumb and your other 3 fingers. It's going to hold it so you can lift it up and down. And then you're going to use your index finger to kind of use it as a gauge to get it even with the top of the 2x. Alright, it might take a little bit of practice. So get on your line on the other side here. Make sure that your fingers are back. Get it flush the top of the plate and put one on the top and the bottom. Once you get the one on the top, you can move your hand out of the way and shoot the bottom. Alright, it's really important that you're always conscious of the fact that a nail can come through that plate and stick you in the finger. Alright, I've seen it happen. I've done it to myself, and I don't want it to happen to you. And the reason it did happen to me and the others is because we weren't following the precautions that I'm showing you right now. Alright. So I'm going to go down through here now and at every 16-inch mark. And Chris, come over on this side and shoot back and show them the position of these studs. Remember, I'm covering the X's and I'm staying on the line and I'm keeping the top of my 2x flush with the plates. Alright, cover my X, stay on my line, my fingers out of harm's way, one on the top, about 3/4 down, one on the bottom. Cover my X, stay on my line, one on the top, one on the bottom. And we're just going to do that the whole way down through. Okay, so now we've got all of our studs nailed through the bottom plate. Alright? Now, to nail the top, you have to grab the wall and slide it back about 3 feet. Okay. And then take your top plate and bring it up. Alright, we're going to do the same exact thing again. We're going to go down through and position all of our studs on the lines and cover the X the whole way down through. Now, on the side, on the corners, alright, we got this flat one here. What we're going to do here is we want this flat one to be even with the first stud in on the 3.5-inch line on the top. So we have to lift it up like this and nail through the side and pin this up so it doesn't flop around. So we're going to lift it up and about every 2 or 3 feet shoot through the one that's on edge into the flat one. Okay? Come down, make them flush, shoot into it. Okay. Now what you did there is you basically turned this into one corner nailer, nice and solid. They're pinned together now. Then all you need to do is bring it out to the edge of the plate and nail it on. Okay, and that's going to be a solid corner, a nice flat piece of wood, a nice nailer for wall number 2. Okay, and that's why we stayed 3.5 inches past when we started this wall on each side. So when it's stuck past the number 2 wall, 3.5 inches, when we stand this wall up, we're going to have 3.5 inches of wood, of meat, to butt wall number 2 up to, so we have a solid corner. Alright, so let's nail this up. And we're going to go down through and cover our X and nail this up here. I can't tell you how much faster this is than hand nailing. So if you were contemplating getting air equipment and you don't want to buy it, you can certainly go and rent this equipment for a day or 2. Okay. Alright, now we're all nailed up. The next phase is getting the wall into position on our bottom chalk line and our top chalk line. Now, if we made our measurements correctly, me and Mark should be able to grab the top of this wall, lift it up, slide it back, and push it up to the line. That's the reason that we put the white plate on this side. What you don't want to do is put it on the wrong side and then have to grab this wall and lift it up this way, because as you were lifting it, you'd hit this steel and you wouldn't be able to get it up. That's why we always put the top plate, the white plate, against the exterior wall when we're nailing the wall together. So let's go ahead and slide this up there, Mark. Okay. All right, now you can see at the top, it's just missing those floor joists by about 1/8 of an inch. That is a perfectly built wall. That is what you're looking for right there. You can have up to 1/4 of an inch of gap up there where the top plate's missing those joists and still be good. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to line up this crack here on our flat one and our first on-edge 2x4. That joint there is 3.5 inches. We're going to put that joint right on the red line. That's where you want it to be. You want this crack between the flat 2x4 and the first one that's on edge to be even with the red line. Now it looks like I got to go your way a little bit, Mark. Tap it down there. How's that look?
Looks pretty good.
Good? All right, and then you want to get your bottom plate back to the red line. There's your red line. You want to be right on that. All right? Tap it just so you can see the red line just peeking through. And because the bottom plate might not be perfectly straight because it's wood, you want to start at one end and work your way down and pull your wall in and out if need be to the red line. So we're going to start down here to fasten the wall. You always fasten to the concrete floor first, and then once you get the whole bottom fastened, then you go up and you fasten at the top. So we're going to be using our ramsett, which is, if you guys know me, you know how much I love my ramsett. Generally, I'll be kissing it. I love this thing. This has got to be the most manly tool in the crib. All right, so we got one loaded in here already. What we're going to do here is we're going to load our shot and into the end, all right, our fastener. And again, we're using 2.5 inch ramsett pins, all right? Just like this. I got a little fin on them. I've already got one in the gun. All right, stick it in there, fin first. Put the fastener in first, and then while the gun's open, you stick your shell in, your load, and just close it very gently. Take these over to where we're going to be working here. And we're going to fire this 2.5 inch pin out of our ramsett gun through that bottom green plate into the concrete. All right, so what you want to do is come in against your first stud, wherever it may be, and in the center of the plate, not out here on the ends, try to stay in the center. Press straight down. All right, nothing will happen until you squeeze the trigger, but once you press it down, the gun's armed, and then squeeze the trigger. All right, and you can see there's the fins on that fastener. Can't even get it out of there, it's down there so good, but that sunk the head of that 2-inch steel fastener into the plate. All right, that wall's never moving from this spot. So we'll cock it open again. Put another 2.5 inch fastener in there. Just let the tip stick out. Another load in there. Close it gently. And then come down about 4 feet, which would be 1, 2, 3 studs down because they're 16 inches on the center. Make sure you're on the red line. And then in the center of the bottom plate, press down and pull the trigger. Okay? definitely make sure you're wearing your safety glasses to operate this tool. Alright, so we're just going to go down the rest of the way, doing the same thing here, about every 4 feet or so. Make sure we're on our red line. Center of the plate, press down. We're going to pull it out to the line here. You can see it was a little bit off, so we had to pull it out to the line. And we're looking pretty good the rest of the way there, Mark. And one more on the end. Okay. All right, so that's the bottom plate fastening portion of putting this wall in. Now, you may think, oh, this is going to be easy now. You just go up there and put the top plate to the red line. Well, yes and no. It's true we are going to be on that red line, but there's something else we have to do to this wall before we can shoot it to the red line. And this is where your 6-foot level comes in. You want to make sure that your wall studs are not racked. And by racked, I mean this. These 2x4s are leaning to the left now. I got to pull them, unrack them, and get them straight again. All right? They can be racked. You can't just go up there and shoot it to the red line because your studs will be racked. So what you want to do is pick a stud somewhere on your wall, put it on the flat side on the inside, and make sure that the bubble is between the level lines. All right, now my studs are not racked. They're perfectly straight up and down. Now I can get them up on the red line while I have it racked, and now I can begin to shoot. All right, so I'm going to grab a ladder here, and it's always nice to have a guy with the 6-foot level racking the wall for you while you're up top concentrating on keeping the top plate on the red line. So Mark's going to rack the wall on one of these studs, and when he says it's racked straight, I'll get on the red line and I'll put my first nail in. Looks good right there. You like it?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm on my red line, set back on my X, and we're racked nice and straight. Alright, so I'm going to go down through here and make sure at every one of these floor joists, the top of my wall, that my plate is on that red line. Now you may want to have a guy pushing the wall in and out and helping you here. So Mark's going to help me. He's going to do what I tell him. He's either going to push or pull. Alright, push in a little, Mark. Out a little bit. Good. Okay. And I'm going down at every joist location, and I'm nailing up into my red line. That looks good. That looks good. Looks good. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, there you go. Now, there was a lot of little nuances to this wall. And again, watch this video at least 3 times before you go hacking into your 2x4s and start nailing this stuff together. That's wall number 1. Now, wall number 1 on this side is ready to receive wall number 2. Okay, because wall number 2 is going to be sitting on this side of the red line. And guess what? When we put the wall number 2 on this side of the red line, look what we got over here already. We got a nice 2x4 for that wall to mate right up to, and then on the inside of wall number 2 there'll be a stud already in the corner to receive the drywall. Okay? So all the framing's done. We don't have to go back and add nailers later. any of that nonsense. When I frame, when I'm done a wall, it's finished. All right, there's no going back and adding anything. On the other end, we have the same situation for wall number 3. We've already got the deceiving wall nailer back here and the stud beside it, which will receive the drywall in our corner, in our inside corner. Okay, and I promised you that wall number 2 and 3 would be easier than wall number 1, and they are, because we don't have to do any of that 3.5 inch layout stuff past the line on this end. We can just measure right off wall number 1 out here to my turn. Now we're going to be coming off wall number 1 on the inside corner, coming all the way down to right here where we have an outside corner, because we have a wall going all the way down there to the sliding door. So we're going to measure from wall number 1 right to wall number 4, which will be going down that way. We'll call this wall number 4. Okay. So real simple, I'm going to take my tape measure, I'm going to run it down the floor, do it all by myself, right up against wall number 1's plate down there, and measure all the way down here. And you can see that's exactly 120 inches, 10 foot. So what you'll do now is you'll make a green plate and a white plate 120 inches. Okay, over on the saw, Mark will cut me those. And then I'm going to show you how to lay out wall number 2. So we'll let Mark cut that, and we'll be right back